Come on. It's a party. We're on part 4 of the anniversary celebration. Come on. We're going to celebrate for a minute. Party with your girl. Hey. Celebrating 14 years of business. Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I am your host, Tina Dawson, the owner of True Blue Designs, and it is truly an honor to be before you this evening. Please like and share and let everyone know that we are on the air. We are streaming simultaneously on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. I also want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the notification bell so that you can be notified when new content comes available. I know you see the balloons in the background, and if you have not joined us through the month of March, you have missed a treat. True Blue Designs is celebrating 14 years of being in business, and the comedians from the Greek comedy tour have been with us this month to share about their life's journey. Tonight's guest, let me get my piece of paper. Tonight is the conclusion of our anniversary celebration, and we introduce to you a multi-talented actor, comedian who has performed all over the country in numerous clubs and is well known for his clean, high-energy comedy. Help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Mr. Lazarus Windham. Hello, Mr. Windham. How you doing?
I am alive and well. Hello, all of y'all that's watching now that's live, and all y'all that's watching the replay. Yes, you. That's the replayers. We talking to you right now. It ain't live. You a replayer. Thank you so much for being here with True Blue Designs. Yes, indeed.
And thank you so much for being on tonight's show. First of all, I always ask, how's the family?
Oh, everyone is alive and well. As a matter of fact, we're in the 3rd day of spring break week.
Okay.
So we actually just got back about maybe half an hour ago from a little bowling, just taking the kids. Every day we're just trying to plan to have some type of activity. You know, they spoiled. You try to do what you didn't receive as a kid to your children. You know, spring break for me was watching Nickelodeon and playing video games in the house, or you either outside riding a bike somewhere. And now, you know, we just trying to give them the experience that we didn't have as children. So yes, everyone is doing very well.
That is great. Well, we're gonna start off by allowing you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes, well, you know, listen, it all started in 1982. I was a little I am originally from Montgomery, Alabama, raised there in Montgomery, Alabama. However, I was a military kid. So I did a lot of traveling in my earlier years. Born in Cheyenne, Wyoming, lived in Florida, lived in New York, and then shout out to the military people who knows about those Air Force bases. That was Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. We got Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York. And then my father got out of the military, and I was raised in Montgomery, Alabama through 5th grade throughout college, graduate of the Alabama State University. Come on now. Shout out to all those alumni and all those currently attending and representing the amazing Divine Nine of one of the hottest fraternities that can ever be made. So hot that they named them twice. K.A. Psi, Phi Nu Pi. You already know. Yes, indeed. And come on now. Don't get me started. But
nothing like a good shimmy,
listen. I am not even gonna lie. For the record, I looked at all of the fraternity because it's not that many. I think my first cousin is also a Nupe. But
Okay.
that's it. We don't have any fraternities. We don't have no sororities. Now I got a sister who's an AKA. I got a cousin who's an AKA.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, what would I look like if I was a Q? I said, all right, Atomic Dog, they get live. All right. But then I started thinking the way my knees are set up. Can't be doing.
Yeah.
I looked at the figures. I said, the way my knees are set up, I can't be doing all that hopping. And you know them alphas, Jesus bless them. I can't be kicking them legs up that high. I couldn't be doing all that. So I said, how would I look if Lord blessed me with longevity and all I can do is move my shoulders? I said, well, there I go. That's my shoulders are gonna be good for the rest of my life. The way these knees are working though. But I attended Alabama State because I was a theater arts major. All of my life, I just been entertaining from the kid. Come on, your grandma and all them coming
Uh-huh.
over. Entertainment has always been a part of my life. So I always knew that I would be somewhere in California in my life. I just didn't know when. So after
Mm-hmm.
I graduated high school, I said, you know what? It'll be a smart thing for me to stick around in Montgomery
Okay.
because they had one of the best theater arts programs in the history of HBCUness. Yes, Dr.
Okay.
Tonia Stewart was my mentor and the dean there at Alabama State University. Many people would know her from her credits of being in the heat of the night, A Time to Kill, and many other numerous projects. And I said, I'm going to plant the seed. I'm going to get my certification. I'm going to get that paper. I'm going to graduate. And then the Lord found out that I needed a better half because he said, in the rate that you going, you're gonna need somebody to keep you on the straight and narrow, Lazarus, because you tend to go left when you're supposed to be right. So I met my college sweetheart. We both started working at TGI Fridays while we attended Alabama State
Mhm.
University. She came in 2002, I believe.
Okay.
I came in 2000, and no, she came in 2001. I came in 2000. We both
Okay.
graduated together in 2005.
Wow.
She graduated the cum laude, and
Mhm.
I graduated o laude. I'm trying to bless it. Yes, Did Jasmine is her name. Did Jasmine, Laz and Jazz. You can't make that up. That was meant to be. Laz and Jazz,
Last
and
and best.
Laz and Jazz. And so, a quick story about
Wow.
her. Her mother lived in Mississippi, and her father lived in Southern California, in the city of Pomona.
Okay.
So she was a Southern girl slash Cali girl.
Mhm.
So after we graduated, the home that she was raised in, he later moved closer to like going to Las Vegas in this area called Victorville, but he still
Okay.
owned the house. So you hear stories about people moving to California and living in their car. They didn't have nothing to
Yeah.
start this, that, and the other, but we had a house. As soon as I found out about that, we graduated in 2005 and we
Uh-huh.
moved from Montgomery, Alabama in 2006.
Wow.
We came back to have our marriage in 2007 in Mississippi because that was a better meeting point for all the families or what have you.
Mhm.
And we've
Mhm.
been grinding ever since. We're approaching
Wow.
16 years of marriage,
16
17
years.
years of living here in Southern California, and to God be the glory. We still together.
So, Lazarus, since
Mhm.
you mentioned this, what would you say is some of the key things that you learned about marriage that helped, your union stay together for so long?
What am I still learning?
Yeah, I think that you
Yeah.
learned a couple of things,
Indeed. You know what? I really I learned that you can't always focus on you. It really
Mhm.
has to be once you start to get to know each other, you have to be 50-50 in meeting each other's needs and wants,
Mhm.
desires. Coming into our relationship, she knew the man that I was. She knew my aspirations. It wasn't no like we get together and then I'm about to be an entertainer. Now you're gonna follow me and she
Uh,
knew. And I'm blessed that she accepted who I was bringing to the table,
right.
and she brought a lot to the table that I lacked. and
Okay.
together we really complemented each other. We did what the old folks didn't approve of, and we shacked a little bit just so
Mm-hmm.
we can get to know each other. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it was really a smart thing, and I'm not saying that this is the route that you have to go, but
Right.
um I said, if I have an apartment, you got an apartment, but you either always at my apartment or I'm always at your apartment. We need to quit these leases and come together so it can be cheaper. So
That makes sense.
it really did.
That's true. Because
And
when you're dating, you're at one person's place.
yeah, she had roommates. I had a roommate. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
her roommates didn't start, cooperating right. My roommate
Yeah.
wasn't, in compliance, and it just made sense. He said, "You know what? We're gonna join this thing together." And I'm blessed to have her because she opened my eyes to planning. She opened my eyes to knowing how to structure things because
Yeah.
I grew up just by the method of we'll see. My
Mm-hmm.
mama was like, "Well, we're gonna do this. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see
Mm-hmm.
how it is." But no, she's a planner. Okay, what we gonna do? We're gonna put this down on the calendar, and we just gonna say this is when we're gonna do it. This is
Right.
how we're gonna do it. So I say that you have to be open to receiving what your better half is all about.
Right.
And I also want to put on the table is counseling, which I had the opportunity to experience for the first
Mm-hmm.
time during the pandemic.
Okay.
Is really helpful because it allows you to have a professional to crack open some things that you probably never would have cracked open for yourself.
That's so true.
So
That is so true.
being open-minded to who your person is, who your spouse is, who your better half is, and always trying to meet them halfway with trying to cater to their needs. If you
Right.
know that they like certain things, if you know that they don't like certain things, be proactive and just be open and always attentive. Attentiveness is key, I believe,
Mm,
in a longevity of marriage.
right.
And I also believe that you have to really get to know the person that you're trying to agree to say this is who I want to be. A lot of people I think move too fast.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was yesterday. I remember living an amazing college life. I was there, and everywhere. Not saying that I was just a, a ladies' man, but
Right.
I had fun. But then I said to the Lord, I said, I'm ready.
Mm,
I'm ready for you to give me who needs to be for me.
right.
And when you say that, see, first it has to come from above. And
Yeah.
you have to accept it from him. And see, when
Right.
you accept it from him, then he's going to guide you along the way on how it's supposed to be.
That is so true.
So that was my main ingredient. I accepted it. And I knew that, okay, I was thinking that it wasn't going to be her, but Lord, you show me that it is her. So I
Yeah.
receive it. And we going to
Yeah.
stay on this thing. And we've been staying. And it's been truly a blessing.
And I think that one thing that you said is so key
Hmm.
is that you first asked him, you told
Hmm.
him you were ready.
Yes.
And then you said, now send me who you have for me.
Yes.
And I think that's the part people, the waiting,
Yeah.
because you said it, and then you're with your relationship with him, you allowed yourself to wait
Hmm.
for the answer. And
Yep.
I think so many times, and I'm older now,
Hmm.
but I think that I know a lot of times the guys who I allowed into my personal space was not from him. And I
Yeah.
had said that, but I didn't wait, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't wait on him.
Yeah. And it's
And now that
understandable.
I'm older, I
Yeah.
see that if I only would have waited,
Yeah.
and I told my kids this, I said, you pick all of what you want and a little of what you need. But
Yeah.
God gives you all of what you need and
Yes.
a little of what you want. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of times we get into these crazy relationships
Yep.
because, and let me tell you this, I learned this too, that in the waiting
Hmm.
for your answer,
Hmm.
he's already working on you,
Yeah.
but he's working on you.
Yes.
right? Because at the
Yep.
end of the day, he has to get the glory. And he's
Yes.
not going to give you something. If you waited on him, he's not going to give you something and then he becomes a mockery. He's
Yes.
not going to do that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so he's working on you.
Of
And I
course.
think a lot of times, Devon Franklin was at a Bible study here in
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta last night, and I didn't go, but I saw the replay this morning. And he talked about singleness,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how you have to let God work on you in your singleness
Yes.
before you quickly want to be
Combine.
partnered with someone.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
I'm gonna let you elaborate on that a little bit.
See what it is when you said wait. A lot of times, as humans, we are so having that microwavable system. We want it so quickly. You know what I mean? We want everything so boom, bing. You know what I mean? And when you are a loving person, when you love the idea of relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and you do get someone, but you're like, well, I know they ain't like this, I know they ain't like this, I know like this, but we together, so I'm gonna try to make it work.
Right.
Or oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can possibly change him, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that. And
Mm-hmm.
see, and what we're doing is we're saying maybe if I, and see, you have to take I away and put him
That's
in the
right.
forefront.
That's
And
right.
that's what I did. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
did. I had to say, Lord, let me allow you to do what you already have called for it to be for me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
before we were even born, God already worked out the whole journey of our lives. See,
Yep.
we fail to
Sure
forget
has.
that. I even fail to forget that. And I got to remind myself, God already
Mm-hmm.
worked it out. So let me pump my brakes and be still and be patient. You know what I mean? So if you ain't together, first and foremost, you
Mm-hmm.
can't make it work with a combination. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna work if you ain't together.
Yep.
You can't love nobody else if you ain't got the love that you need for yourself first and foremost.
Yep.
A lot of people are broken from just childhood
Mm-hmm.
trauma and what they didn't receive as a child, and then
And
they
got
go off.
void.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got to
Mm-hmm.
fix yourself, and in order to do that, you got to seek ye first. Once
Yeah.
you seek ye first and commit to what God is going to give you patiently, you're going to
Right.
receive what he has already promised you.
That is so true. And
Come on, somebody.
I'm glad you allowed me to go down that road because I think people need to hear it. You know,
Yeah.
you're a black man
Yes.
saying that,
Yeah.
hey, I met her, I allowed God to work on me, I allowed God to show me, and then I understand she's my gift.
Yes. Yes.
You
Through
know,
many signs,
yeah,
and I
yeah, and
accepted
she's
it.
your gift. Yep.
Yeah, I accepted it. Of course, I was saying, oh, my wife gonna have to be X, Y, and Z, B, C, all the way to Z, and you know what I mean. And
Mm-hmm.
he told me you can't look. Sometimes we look at the outer crust of a pie,
Yeah.
without knowing all the ingredients that's within inside.
Right.
Because that's the most
Mhm.
important thing is what's in
It
the doggone
really
pie.
is.
You mess
It
around and
really
just
is.
and just look at the top of the crust, you'll be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
So I really accepted it, and when you accept it, you just gotta just allow God to work and move, and just be in the moment of his grace and mercy, and that's what it's about. And I don't even believe in shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or
Mhm.
mistakes. I believe that all things work for the good who love the
Right.
Lord, and because of your situation that you were involved in your past, it's
Mhm.
because of he allowed that to happen so you can be who you are today.
That's
You see
right.
what I'm
You don't make
saying?
no mistakes.
Never. It ain't no blinking. Oops. I didn't look past. So
Right.
he knew what you were going to be involved in, but at the same time, you stayed the course. You
Right.
kept the faith. Now look where you are today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had to go through that test in order to be
Yeah.
your testimony.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell
Mhm.
you about them twins. I call them the twins, Grace and Mercy.
Come on, listen. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here on this live.
Ooh wee. When I tell you, thank you for the
Mhm.
twins.
Come on, come on.
Let me ask you one more question about relationship.
Yeah,
This
ask
is good.
on. Yes.
So you So you've been married for over 10 years,
Yes,
and you're not the same person as you were in the beginning, and neither is she.
correct.
So how do you deal in a relationship as you and your partner evolve?
It takes a lot of understanding, it takes a lot of love, and it takes a lot of forgiveness, and it takes a lot of humility, and it takes a lot of humbleness, and it takes a lot of especially with the man, to put the pride aside,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um i i have come a long way because, um even in my wrongs, I would try to, still be as though I'm right,
Mm-hmm.
and then have this chip on my shoulder. And now, the house is all on pins and needles and eggshells because
Right.
we tense through one another. But we know not the day nor the hour of our last breath.
That is
So I utilize that mentality, to
mm-hmm.
say, hey, let me go ahead, and while I still yet have breath, just say, I know I was wrong. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. I love you. It's a reason why we're together. We're gonna work this out.
Right.
Forgive me. You know what I mean? Because who doesn't wanna, be wrong? You always, especially for a man, we always want to have the final say so. We always want to be right, you know what I mean? But within a relationship, you have to compromise and you have to be understanding and you have to kick that pride aside. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what has changed me. And I know for her, she had to realize, that in my faults,
Mm-hmm.
she had to, bear with me and not always put that in my face. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So she grew from that and knowing that, she had to quickly forgive, not
Yeah.
keep holding things like, you was,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be like this tonight. I'm gonna wake up and be like this, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be like this. You know what I mean? So she like this, and then I'm like this. I'm sleeping all the way to the edge of the bed, and y'all, you know what I mean? And that's not healthy. That's
No,
not
it's
healthy.
not.
Who is it hurting?
Yeah, yeah, right.
You know so that's one key that I tell any people that are in relationships. Be mindful of your faults. Put the pride aside. Check yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Before you could check someone else, check yourself. And look at what okay, how was it? Okay, yeah, that's I messed up. I know I shouldn't have been like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? And quickly try to resolve any situation if you can, because
Right.
you can be gone just like that.
That is so true.
So that's what I give, and I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I believe now through the lives of our children
Mm-hmm.
helps us to grow even more, because now it's not about just her and I, you know
No.
it's these babies.
Yeah. So let's talk about the babies. How do you
Yeah.
enjoy being a girl dad? You have
Oh my
three
goodness.
daughters.
Listen, I just want to say first and foremost, it was God sent. It was we are really a testimony because in the beginning of our process, doctor said that my wife wouldn't be able to bear children, due to fibroids. That's a high thing
Yeah.
and within women and African American women or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and got checked out. And it was like, yeah, it's a high chance, you're not going to be able to conceive this, that, and the other. Oh, but God, you know what I
Really?
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we had our first child in 2014.
Okay.
After that, and first of all, that first pregnancy for my wife was, in her books, the best pregnancy that a woman could ever have. No
Really?
sickness, no pains. I mean, it was just like, if you look in the dictionary on the best pregnancy, it's a picture of my wife like this, like just, it was a beautiful thing. She looked gorgeous. She was just
Mm-hmm.
beautiful throughout the whole
Radiant.
pregnancy. Oh my goodness, man. This is something about pregnant women. My wife was just, I couldn't keep my hands off her, let alone, my God, you know. But then we had an angel baby after that. She had a miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had our second child in
Mm-hmm.
2016. So it was
Mm-hmm.
2014, then 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then that pregnancy was a little rough and rocky road for my wife, you know.
Uh,
And after that second daughter, you know, they were like, aren't you trying to shoot for your son? You trying to, you know how people like, you know,
yeah,
before you have kids, when you gonna have kids, then you get
yeah.
kids, you got a daughter. When you gonna get that boy? You know you got to get a boy. Now see if you lay on your side, then you that's what
Yeah.
if you eat sauerkraut, if you well, I tell you, I heard so many stories, but I never was that one to say you know, I never prayed for like God, I want the sex of my child. I prayed
Right.
for things that a lot of people
Healthy
don't really pray
child.
for. I prayed for healthiness. I prayed
Right.
for
Exactly.
beauty. I prayed for
Mm-hmm.
all eyes, all fingers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
I had an aunt who had Down syndrome. I said, Lord, you know, in the name,
Right.
you know, it can skip all these generations,
That's
then come to
true.
me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
however you see fit for me to have, Lord, I receive it before it even comes to pass. So we had our
Right.
second daughter, and then we thought we were done. We really, she said, this is it. That took my body for a loop de loop. And I'm like, okay, baby. I even went, and we family. I can be real with
Uh-huh.
y'all, right?
Uh-huh.
I went in and made my appointment for my vasectomy. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I said, okay, you said we done, but we
Before the appointment.
what had happened was we had a 10-year anniversary in Cabo St. Lucas, and
Oh, combo.
that was all inclusive. It was
It was really all inclusive.
it was all inclusive, and basically we should have named the third child Cabo. I'm just saying. We get back, and I got like a few days after we get back, leading to my appointment, and she's looking and frowning and looking all upset with me. I'm like, what? She's like, well, I'm late. I said, well, don't blame me, blame Hector and them Vaca Frescas. That's what it was. I'm sorry if you try not to have children, don't take you behind Sacabo on an all inclusive. That's
On an all inclusive.
it ain't gonna work. But we have Hayden, Harper, and Harley.
And Harley.
HMW. They all have the same initials.
Oh,
Hayden Nicole. She took the middle name of my wife, Miko with an M,
okay.
Mecole. Harper. Oh my gosh, we was like, okay, we're gonna do another H. What is the H gonna be? So a cousin of ours, we was just going back and forth. We're like, Haven, Heaven. What is it gonna be? And she was like, well, why not Harper? We're like, Harper.
That's
That sounds
beautiful.
good. That's
Yeah.
pretty. So we said
Uh-huh.
Harper Marie. Harper Marie. So we got
Okay.
Harper Marie. And then the third one came. Like, what is that third one gonna be, Jesus? So what we did was we took the idea of my in-laws, my wife's grandparents, their last name or Lee's, Lee. So we said
Oh, okay.
Harley. Let's make it
Okay.
Harley, like the motorcycle, but we'll spell it Harlee, Harley.
Okay. That's
So
good.
come to find out, all my life I said if God was to bless me with a daughter, I want to have the name Hayden because my
Okay.
mother's maiden name is Hayden. I have
Mhm.
uncles and cousins and aunties, their last name is Hayden. So didn't realize until after my grandmother passed that before she was Hayden, she was Harper. Didn't
Wow.
know it. So the correlation, God already saw that to be
Wow.
official. So we living in within the name of my grandmother through both Hayden and
And
Harper.
Harper.
Come on,
Wow.
somebody. This is a
That is
beautiful thing. So
awesome.
yes, the 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And I'm blessed that we're bringing them in the lifestyle that, like I said before, what we didn't experience. Both of my oldest and my second are a part of a dual immersion program of schooling, where it's
Okay.
80% Spanish and the 10% English. So
Mhm.
my oldest in third grade, she's just about advanced in speaking Spanish.
Oh,
So it
wow.
goes to eighth grade. In about sixth grade, that's when they transition to Mandarin.
Mm.
So she just received her certification of saying that she is a certified reading, writing, and speaking Spanish student for third grade level. And my second daughter, bless
Wow.
her heart, she thinks she before she was even in the school, she was just thinking that she just knew Spanish. She'd be trying to. help the teacher out. She'd be like, "Hold on, class." She said, and the teacher be like, "No, no, 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 Mija, I don't know. I didn't. No, I didn't say that." But it is truly a blessing, and they really keep us on our toes. Every day
Wow.
is entertainment in my house with these babies. So it is
And
truly a
being
blessing.
bilingual, there's so many different jobs out there
Come
that,
on.
are asking for bilingual, mainly Spanish, but, bilingual speaking
Listen.
people. And your children are under 10
Come
and
on. We all
and
about to get
speaking
the
10
checks.
languages. Good grief.
I'm
Wow, that's awesome.
taking after Joe Jackson. They oh y'all. Listen, if it wasn't for Joe, it wouldn't be no Michael. You understand me? It would not be no Janet.
Well, that's true.
It had to be Joe. Joe said, "Listen, y'all finna wake up out this sleep, and y'all go, Michael, get him. Where my belt? Get Michael on this, But you had to train them up in the way that they should go, And that's really my method,
Yeah.
of
And giving them
instilling
the
greatness.
opportunities is
Yes.
so important for a parent to allow their children to have opportunities. I'm going to tell you a story right quick, and then we'll move
Hmm.
on. So, my daughter was going into, I think, high school. I think she was going to the 8th grade, and they had a meeting
Mm.
about dual enrollment.
Yeah.
And so I had talked to a lady. I'm not going to tell you who the lady is because she probably watched. But anyway, so I was talking to a lady whose children are older
Hmm.
about dual enrollment. And she was telling me that, it's a waste of time. My children didn't want to do it, yada, yada, yada. And, she talked bad about it. So me and then my daughter plays soccer. So me and another soccer parent, we was like, we're going to go
Right.
to the meeting.
Hmm.
And they took all of my daughter's credits except one.
Okay.
And the reason why they didn't take that one, I believe, is because she's a civil engineer major. And
Oh.
her teacher told her that you're going to take this college math, but because of the criteria in all the schools, they're going to make you retake this one math. They're just going to see that you did it, but it's going to be the same class. So keep all
Right.
your notes and blah, blah, blah. So the other parent's daughter, she went to Howard as a
Okay.
political science major.
Okay.
They took all of her credits,
Uh,
and we're going to her graduation in May.
come on.
So she graduates a year earlier than Damari,
Okay.
but she was only there, I think, like 2.5
Uh-huh.
years or
Yeah.
so. So again, I'm just saying that number one, I'm glad I didn't listen to that little person. But number two is I'm glad I gave my daughter the opportunity to be able to experience dual enrollment. And was it challenging? Yes. But I
Yes.
think it prepared her for that rigorous schedule of being on a college campus. And she's doing pretty good now with time management and things.
And see
But
that.
it's about the opportunity. And I'm so
Yes.
glad you mentioned that because your children have the opportunity. Your children don't know any different. They just
Come
know
on.
that we're in a school and I
Yep.
get to speak all this stuff. And
Yep.
not until they really get out there do they see the
Yep.
blessing and how my parents have prepared me, and I'm prepared way better
Come
than
on.
some of these kids I'm gonna run into. So I think it's so important to give our kids opportunities.
Yes. See, you stepped out on faith and
Yeah.
you didn't allow someone else's insecurities or
Mm-hmm.
fears of the unknown. See, that's what
Right.
hinders us a lot is that unknown.
Mm-hmm.
We could have blocked our children's blessing. Why? Because we're like, shoot, we don't speak no Spanish. That means all the homework gonna come back in Spanish. We don't know no Spanish. How we gonna be able to? How they gonna do their homework? There was all of that we was questioning.
Right.
However, we said, let's just present it. Let's
Right.
see how they do. Let's step out on faith into the unknown, which
Right.
is I call the faith zone.
Mm.
And my daughter started out doing it in kindergarten, and then the pandemic hit. Then she had to do the homeschool. So
Okay.
she was doing the homeschool with this Spanish homework and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
please believe, now she's in 3rd grade. And if we look back over our life and had stopped the process because of
Right.
what we were not in the know of how it was going to be, she wouldn't even be this far in the knowledge that she has. You
Right.
understand? So
Right.
that's what a lot of times we do is block our blessings in our situation because of the unknown.
Right,
you know.
right. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, this is so good. I know we got other things to talk about, but
Yeah,
how important, Lazarus, how important is it for us as parents to allow our children to chart their own journey? And the reason why I'm asking that is because there was a situation where a parent wanted a child to do XYZ, and I think it was sports. And, they were just really yelling at the child saying, "You're not putting forth the effort." And I was like, well, did you ever ask the child what he wanted to do? Because your child may be arts and crafty,
yes.
or theater,
Hmm.
or bilingual, or something else that child may have a different interest than what you have. And maybe
Correct.
you're forcing what your desires on that child. How important is it for us as parents to allow these kids to blossom in their own journey, even though it might not be what we think, but it's what they love to do?
It's extremely important because it's how God treats us as his children. You
Mhm.
know, guess what? We want to do what we want to do, but God has a plan for what our lives is supposed to
Right,
be. You understand? And
right.
that's how it is. And I call that the old school upbringing of raising children. You're
Hmm.
going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do as I say.
Right.
You understand?
Hmm.
And you still got to have a little taste of do as I say, but at the same time,
Right.
we want to see what it is of your interest as well. Like we
Mhm.
present so many opportunities to our children. For example, my youngest for basketball, uh, you want to try it? She say yes, but the moment that she's not interested or it seems like it's, we don't want to have no kind of pressure for
Right.
anything. We're
Right.
going to present as much as possible, but at the same time, we ask, okay, what is it that you want to do? Do you
Right.
want to sing? Do you want to dance? They say they want to dance. Okay, let's do it. We want to be behind you 1,000,000,000%, but at the same time, we want to know first and foremost, is this what you want to do? Not
Right.
because it's what we want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm in the entertainment. Of course, my daughters are beautiful, cute, smart. I want them to experience because they be like, oh, they need to be on TV. Okay, we're in the land of where that can happen, but at the
Mhm.
same time, do you want to do this? Because
Right.
if you do, I'm going to allow all type of opportunities to come your direction if
Right.
this is what you want to do. But I'm not going to be that parent. Oh, you going to do this? Oh, you going to learn these lines?
Right.
Because now you're going to build a resentment.
That's
They're
true.
not going to do their due diligence of putting their best foot forward because they
Mhm.
don't really want to do it. You know what I mean? So you have to allow them to at least give their voice, let their voice be heard. Then that's
Mhm.
what I think this new generation. I'm part. I guess you could say the millennials. I was an '80s baby,
Mhm.
so I'm kind of the last of the Mohicans. And that's the you know what I mean. So I still have some of that upbringing of what I
Yeah.
experienced, but at the same time, with this collaboration of how my wife was raised and how I was raised,
Right.
we are meeting halfway of saying, okay, we're going to incorporate a little bit of this, but at the same time, we need to put in this newness
Right.
so that we can build up this new generation of adults. So
Mhm.
we don't build this cycle of a continuation of how it used to be
Right.
from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
Right.
70s. So it
Mhm.
is very important to, push your child, but at the same time, push them in the direction of where you feel that they are open to what their creative mind is showing.
Right. Correct. Correct.
Yes.
That is so important.
Yep, it is.
That
Yes,
is
it
so
is.
important. And these kids are totally different.
Yes, they are.
The old way of how we were raised. I'm older than you,
Come
so
on.
the way I was raised, the way you were raised, with these 23 kids, and they have this at their
Listen.
disposal. The only thing we had was an encyclopedia.
Come
So
on.
you
They don't
talked
know nothing
about
about no Britannica.
that's right. So when we talked, if you did not have National Geographic on the
Mm-hmm.
television station, then the encyclopedia was your best friend with
Come
the pictures.
on.
And that's how you got the parents. That's how
Yep.
you got to, but now you got one click.
You're like, where the Wi-Fi? You if you ain't got no Wi-Fi, You in for a
So
rude
we have
awakening.
to change. We have to
Yes.
adapt. We have to adapt and change. Okay, so let's talk about your journey to comedy. How
Mm.
did you? What was your road to comedy?
All right, I'm going to be real with you. I never fathomed that I was going to be doing any sort of stand up in my life. I am a comedic actor. Acting has always been my passion, my love. Theater is what I graduated from, just
Uh-huh.
live entertainment, hosting, being in front of an audience. I've always had that from singing in the choir. I was theatrical singing in the choir just talking to you. I'm just, my kids say, "Daddy, you extra." I've always been extra. You know what I mean? But it wasn't until I moved out to Southern California that I met this guy, just like how I met you, and I was on a podcast, and he was like, "Man, you're so funny. Do you do stand up?" I said, "No, I never done stand up." He said, "Man, you should try it. You should give it a try, man. You were just very naturally funny."
Mhm.
And I've always been blessed to just naturally be able to make people laugh and be comfortable in my skin to make people
Uh-huh.
laugh. And
Uh-huh.
never, because in Montgomery, Alabama, there weren't any comedy clubs. Not like Atlanta
Mhm.
or Birmingham, Alabama. So I would get all my practice from either hosting events
Mhm.
or, you know what I mean. I was just always involved where I was in front of an audience, so I wasn't scared of that.
Right.
So it was in 2009, by the connection of this guy named Floppy Bob. Shout out to him if he ever sees this or is a replayer. Brian V. He connected me to Jody Miller. She's a comic that is touring the country. She's connected with Byron Allen.
Mhm.
She gave me my first opportunity to perform on one of her shows inside the Comedy Store off of
Mhm.
Sunset, and I fell in love. And
Oh, wow.
shout out to my mentor Doug Williams. He's also a part of the other 1911 Omega Sci-Fi, but he's from my same hometown of Montgomery, Alabama. And he took me under his wings and
Oh,
basically not only showed me the ins and outs of stand up, but also
mhm.
showed me the business aspect of stand up. Because he said,
Right.
Lazarus, you already got what you got to do on stage. You got it. It's just now it just takes repetition. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Now what you need to do is you need to build your brand. What is your message? What are you trying to accomplish every time you hit the stage?
Okay.
See, there's a lot of comedians that just want to make sure that we want to make you laugh. I'm going to be the funniest,
Mhm.
and that's not really, I mean, I know God has given me the talent to be able to make people laugh, but at the same time, not only do I want to bring a smile, because what my claim to fame of doing stand up is, I want to make you feel good. I want to make you remember me. And I also want to send a message out. You know,
Mhm.
all my life I've been told, as soon as they found out my name is Lazarus, oh, Lazarus. Lazarus? Ooh, you better come forth, Lazarus. Lazarus, come forth. Rise up. Always as a little kid, I used to get sick of that. I'm like, Mama, really? You couldn't pick nothing else simple out the Bible? Mark, John, you had to go with Lazarus.
Nicodemus.
Come on, Ezekiel, you know what I mean? But I said, you know what, Lord, I'm going to utilize this as
Yeah,
not only am I going to, make people feel good, but I'm going to send a message. We all can come forth with something in our life.
that's right.
You trying to get to that next level of your job. You want to, you want to lose weight. You want to marry that person. You can come forth and you can achieve what it is that you're trying
Right.
to achieve. So that's
Right.
my brand. So I got merchandise that says hashtag come forth. I got
Mhm.
bands, t-shirts, aprons, mugs, cups, and everything. So
Right.
my goal is to uplift and inspire while I'm making you feel good, because I can leave all the other stuff to the other comedians. You got the comedians that's going to talk about your mama. You
Yeah.
got, because comedy is universal and it's so broad. You got
Mhm.
dark
It is.
comedy, you got all kinds
Mhm.
of comedy. But my
Mhm.
thing is, as soon as they mention my name and they bring me to the stage, I got people smiling and laughing before I even
Yeah.
come to the mic.
Yeah.
I'm coming to the mic and I just want you to feel good,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of got started. So I started hitting clubs. I connected with J. Anthony Brown, and he
Mhm.
gave me one of his first opportunities when he first opened up his club in LA called the J Spot.
Mhm.
I even toured the country with J. Anthony Brown in the
Oh,
stage play, and that's how I got connected with another frat brother of mine, Thomas Miles, nephew Tommy,
okay.
and then God just started kind of just connecting me. So comedy stand up is really my outlet when I'm not booked on a television show
Mhm.
or something where I'm not on TV, because it's like your
Mhm.
one man show,
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what the best comics I like is when I go to I'm sorry.
Come on, I love it. I love it.
But the best comedians I like is when after the show is over,
Hmm.
I can say to myself, it ain't that serious. I
Right.
can be going through some stuff, but the comedian through his show helped me see another side
Amen.
to that I'm going through. And
Yep.
I'm like, you know what? I got this. It's not
Yeah.
so serious.
And that's what it's
Versus
about.
the ones where I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
ooh.
And and nothing against them. They
No,
are
no.
they are needed. You
Right.
got some raunchy comedians. You got the Andrew Dice Clays of the world. You know what I mean? But my inspirations were a Sinbad. My inspirations
Oh,
were storytellers like
mhm,
Bill Cosby that come
mhm,
and talk about his life, talk
right.
about his upbringing,
Mhm,
and that's what I wanted to do, So
yeah.
when I do stand-up comedy, with a name like Lazarus, who else do you know named Lazarus? It's meant. You either laughing that my name is Lazarus, or you laughing that my name is Lazarus. So
Either or.
either or is one of the two. So I'm gonna help you laugh even the more and bring you into my life. Being a child named Lazarus, growing up with the name like Lazarus.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I was a drug dealer with a name like Lazarus? I'm out there on the streets. Listen here, before we handle this transaction up.
Look, you
You,
had to change
you
your name to Elwin.
listen, you,
Hey man,
yeah,
that's Elwin. Elwin is
listen, you hear me? Now listen, you know what I got here? This is finna rise you up. You finna act like you about to die, but you gonna come back to life. This is
and you were
But before I handle this, you hold that 20 real quick. Let's just bless. We're just gonna bless this right now. Heavenly Father, bless this. And may it be nourishing to his body. Right. Oh, right now. Lift him up to the
you could
most
not
high.
tell
Hey.
me that your name was Lazarus. You could not. You could. So
Oh
listen,
my goodness.
how did you meet Chris? How did you meet Chris? How did you get on the Greek comedy tour?
Okay, so I reached out to him because this was, I think, back in maybe 2016, 2017. I was on the journey. My comedy brother and we said we need to do something that is not out here, that's not, that hasn't been done. I know there's been a lot of like, comedy shows that have Greeks a part of it, but
Right.
we need to make something that's catchy or whatever. So I came up with the name Greeking Out Loud, like laughing out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Greekn
Mm-hmm.
Loud. You know how
Mm-hmm.
down the new fresh be like, be out, bruh, be
Yeah.
out, sis. So
Uh-huh.
Greeking Out Loud,
Mm-hmm.
featuring some of the hottest comedians, a part of the Divine Nine. So when we were putting it together, coming up with the format, coming up with the venue, our tickets and everything, we built it from scratch. At the same time, I seen the Greek comedy tour. I said, hold
Mm-hmm.
on, now who's this brother that got this Greek comedy tour? Is this gonna clash with our idea? And I
Right.
reached out to Chris. I said,
Mm-hmm.
what's up, bro? What you got going on, man? I see you got a Greek comedy tour out there in Atlanta and whatnot, but I got Greeking Out Loud. I just want to, because here's the thing, I'm not in no competition with anyone. We
Mm-hmm.
are all blessed to be great. We got
Right.
enough room to
Yeah. Oh
receive
yeah.
greatness. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I got manners, and I wanted to, to show that I ain't in no competition. I
Right.
reached out to him, and I said, this is what we got going on, man. I see you kind of started this first, but I let you know we out here on the West Coast doing this. Maybe we can even collaborate. He
Yeah.
said, brother, I like that idea. As a matter of fact, man, you know what? Let me take your information. You know what I'm saying? Let me look you up. And he saw what I was all about. And he was like, brother, I love your spirit. I love your energy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And let me just, on the right show, let me have you a part of my next one coming up. So I've done a virtual one with him, and I
Okay.
did one with him. I think it was a Sigma Gamma Rho event, a fundraiser or something like that in
Yeah,
San
because
Diego.
he got connected with them, and I think now he does. I think he does it. It's something with the Sigma Gamma Rose that I think he
Yeah.
does annually or
Yep,
something.
yep. They loved it. They loved it. We wreck shop. It was myself, the hilarious comedian, comedy of Steve Brown, and the fabulous, ever so funny Kelly Kells. When I tell you, that is one Delta that I love, and she's so down to earth. She's so real. See, that's another thing too in the comedy game.
She
You
is.
run into a
She
lot of people
is.
that it's a facade, but when you really get to know them, Chris is such an humble spirit. He's such
Yeah.
a and he's also a father. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. So
Oh,
we just
girls, twins, twin
yeah,
girls.
yes, Jesus. Let's lift him up right now on the show right here.
He got twin girls,
Woo
and
woo.
he said they look like him.
Oh my goodness. Bless him and bless him because you seen him. You seen him. Let me stop. Let me stop. You
He did.
that's a
And
big brother.
we had Kelly Kells on the show, and you are so right. She was such a sweetie. So I had her on the show on a Wednesday, and
Hmm.
on that Friday, she was featured at Uptown Comedy Club because I know
Yes.
the owner Angelo, and
Yes.
so we had Angelo also on the show too. Anyway, so I promised her that I was coming. I was going to bring somebody, and so at the end of the show, I walked up and I said, "You probably don't remember me." And she's like, "Girl, I was just on your show on Wednesday. Come on up here, take a picture with me."
I love
And
her.
I was just so touched. And she talked to us,
Yes.
before she had to, go back with her people and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But she
Hmm.
is so sweet. Oh, I
Yes.
tell you.
Yes, I love her. I'm blessed on the journey that I've had. There's some comedians that talk about their situations of having like a bad set or being booed. I think my brother Ron G has his testimony of talking about that. He said, man, my very first time, man, man, I bombed. They booed me. They booed me off the set. I can honestly say I've been blessed to not have had that experience. But we're
Right.
all our worst critics. I've
Yeah.
had some situations where I felt as though it could have been better. However,
Mhm.
the objective of the job is to be funny. And when you make the people laugh, then
Mhm.
I feel that I've always done my job. Now, I've had an incident at the Uptown Comedy Club on
Mhm.
my earlier years of my journey, and it didn't go how I really wanted it to. One is because I was somebody new, and us is we it's hard to if they don't already know you,
Yeah.
you already
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
they say you got 3 strikes. You already got 2 strikes against you if they don't
They
know
don't
you.
know you. That's
So
true.
they didn't know me, and my name is Lazarus, and I'm coming repping, Los Angeles. I had my hat on, I had my swagger. But here's the thing: I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill because I have roots from Montgomery, Alabama. I'm from the Gump. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I'm
Right.
I'm y'all neighbor. You know what I'm saying? So I came, and then the I ain't gonna mention nobody's names, but the
Okay.
host that night. He kind of broke my spirit because as soon as he gave me the mic, I was scheduled to have like 5 minutes because I was
Oh,
new. They squeezed me in. He said, "You just go ahead and do 3 minutes." I said, "What? What? Huh? 3 minutes?" So I'm like, "Oh man!" So that just kind of broke my
yeah.
mentality. Okay, what I got? Well, 3 minutes. Okay, all right. Let's get it. So I just started trying to go, and I was trying to do the stuff that I knew that was going to be funny instead of being in the moment
Okay.
of my funny. See, that's what I've learned over my years. I'm over
Be in
10
the
years
moment
now.
of
You
your
got to
fun.
be, see, in my earlier years, I thought it was about, let me make sure I say something funny. Let me say
Mhm.
this. This is funny. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this versus checking your room, checking your surrounding, checking who's in the audience, checking what happened prior to you going up on stage,
Okay.
your environment. I could have
Mhm.
went up now in my mentality if I get booked again for the Uptown. I have a whole different mindset of how to now operate that club. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
Right.
was just tunnel vision of this is how, this is how, this is how. But now you in the comedy game, you got to be open to not only having what is structured, but also being in the moment.
Moment.
You know what I mean? I can be like, now, listen, I know my comedy is probably not going to be for some of y'all because y'all got y'all yak in y'all hand. And the way my name is set up, named Lazarus, Just
Right.
automatically, I already know the vision of where to go. But see, that's where I always fall back in to say God allows you to go through things so that you can be able to know how to
Right.
go back through it when you enter it again.
Right.
You know what
It's
I
always
mean?
training
So
ground. Always
yeah.
training ground.
So that's my journey with stand up.
Okay, let's
Yes.
talk about this right quick too. Because in your bio, you talked about being the hype man for the Harlem Globetrotters. So let's talk a little bit about that. I thought that was neat.
Woo! I'm gonna be real. I did not even know that them Trotters was still touring before I even found out about this opportunity. You understand me?
They're still touring today.
Over 96 years in county. They started in 1926. So here's the thing.
Wow.
They wanted to revamp their whole show,
Mhm.
and they've been on a journey for a long time trying to get the attention of the NBA so they can be chartered and say, hey, if it wasn't for us, it wouldn't be no NBA.
Mhm.
So they say, what can we do to bring a different spark to what we've already been doing? So what they did was they reached out to some people on Broadway. They found a writer and a director, a choreographer, and some of those people are some of my colleagues that I was connected with Alabama State University. You hear
Are
me?
you serious?
They pulled a lady by the name of Bonita Hamilton Caesar, who is on the longest running show in Broadway of Lion King, and she helped construct what they called the Broadway team. She pulled a director, she pulled a comedian, my brother Doug Williams,
Mhm.
and they came together. This was during the pandemic, 2020,
Mhm.
and they said, hey, let's construct something. So they came up with the reimagined Harlem Globetrotters. They redid their uniforms, and at the same time, they wanted to pay tribute to Curly Neal, who
Mhm.
passed
Right.
in he recently passed in 2022. So,
Mhm.
all right. Long story short, they cast for these new ensemble cast members. They wanted to have a historian of the Globetrotter, which that was the grandmama role.
Okay.
And that became another colleague of mine that I went to school with. Her name is Kim Thomas. She was the grandmama, the historian. She would
Mhm.
always kind of interrupt the game and say, "Oh, baby, hold on now," and then they had, of course, the MC, and then they said, "We need this other character by the name of Dr. Broke Ankles, and he's gonna be like a kind of a shisty individual who's always about his money. Not only is he a doctor, but he's also a lawyer and he's a coroner." What all those titles involved with the basketball realm of their show is, the Globetrotters going to do some kind of move to put the opponent's team,
Right.
on the floor. I'm gonna break your ankles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it came about. I had to do a whole audition. I
Wow.
went through casting, and sure enough, because God allowed my connection with the people of Alabama State, that was my favor in. But I still had to show that
Yeah.
I was, uh, 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 prepared enough to
Right.
hold this position. And I'm gonna be honest, it was one of the most toughest jobs that I've had, but such a blessing because I toured the country for
Mhm.
over 5 months because we did two seasons, 2021 and 2022. We did a summer tour, and then
Okay.
the fall tour was we left on Christmas of 2021.
Mhm.
Christmas morning, I left. My second daughter's birthday is the day after Christmas, December
Uh-oh.
26th. That was the hardest thing for me. You understand me? I
Mhm.
missed the fifth birthday. So I'm supposed to be cheering for joy of this amazing opportunity, but at the same time, I'm crying like I'm about to be sent off to a boot camp. Lord Jesus. And I was gone from Christmas through Easter.
Oh
And
wow.
just touring. And my title was I was just in and out, mixing, mingling, basically helping keeping the energy where it needed to be
Right.
throughout the show. Because if you've ever seen a Globetrotter show or of heard about it, it's a lot that goes on from the
Yeah.
antics, all tricks and all of this. And then sometimes you might miss some stuff. So they
Right.
said, let's incorporate some other entities that is still going to give that extra finishing touch to the audience. You know what I mean? So I'm blessed to say I'm a part of history, and I got people that are always going to remember me that saw those shows that said Dr. Broke Ankles. I was signing basketballs, taking pictures, and doing all of that. You might as well say it that I the only thing I didn't do was dribble, bounce up. It was
That's
an amazing,
awesome. But
yeah.
that's a testament to, I told my daughter that I've told my kids, period, that you can't get anywhere by yourself. And it's
Yes.
so important to network. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a blessing that your networking at your college all those years later had
Yes.
fruition. And
Yes.
now you're working with people that you were already familiar with because of your.
All those people had graduated before me, mind you.
Okay,
But
wow.
we, because of our camaraderie with, the band, I was a mighty marching hornet. So, that was my connection with Miss Bonita and
Wow.
Doug Williams, you know what I mean, coming from the theater department. So it just, all the pieces of the puzzle that God had already
Yeah.
ordained. So when
Yeah.
you are faithful among a few things and you're humble at the same time, when you think that is no light in the end of the tunnel, God's going to be like, watch what I do.
Right.
Now,
And,
mind you, and let me tell you this testimony. I was working. One of the longest jobs that I had out here when I first moved out here was serving soup, salad, and breadsticks at Olive Garden. I was there for over 11 years at the same location. I got
mm,
fired, bless my heart, in 2019. Now I'm
mhm.
like, Lord, what am I going to do now? I mean, it's going to be kind of difficult to get a restaurant job in this environment of entertainment because that is your outlet to be able to be flexible. So I'm like,
Okay.
Lord, but he never missed a beat. What he said, watch what I do. I'm going to set you up before I shut the whole entire world down the following year. So in 2019, I was already in the position that the whole world was about to embark on in 2020. Now we all at the house. You understand
Wow.
me?
Yeah.
So then the Lord said, now watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take you from the couch and I'm about to place you all across the country, in and out of Canada. I'm about to allow people to know who Lazarus is through this entity of the
Wow.
Harlem Globetrotters.
I
Now,
know. Oh,
now I'm
yeah.
listen, now but at the same time, you just don't know. So in this entertainment, you hear, then you're there, then you hear, then you're
Yeah.
there. Now I'm back to serving at this little mom and pop chicken and waffle shop, blessed, and I'm doing DoorDash as a little side hustle.
Hey,
And my main professional job is being the father of these three children as a
that's right.
stay-at-home father. You know what I mean? So
That's right.
I'm the CEO of the foundation that I started. It's called the Feed My Kids Foundation.
And I'm gonna tell you, you being in those children's lives
Yes,
is
ma'am.
so important. They
Yes,
always
ma'am.
talk about the young man needs a dad. The young
Yeah.
man, but
Yeah.
those girls need
Yes.
a dad because
Yes.
they're able to see what a man is supposed to do by how you treat their mother,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
you treat them, your presence in their life, the
Yes.
relationship, how you talk to them.
Yes.
All of that
Yes.
makes a difference in a girl's life because a lot, my dad passed away when I was in seventh grade. My
Mm.
brother is 6 years older than me. So when I
Okay.
was going into high school, he was going into college.
I
No man
hear
in
you.
the house. So
Yeah.
it is so important for
Yes.
those young girls to have you there. And
Yes.
it's a blessing
Come
that
on.
you're able to be the girl dad,
I'm
right?
that first face that they see in the morning. I wake
It's
them
you.
up in the name of Jesus.
Yeah,
Monday through Friday, I get them
yeah.
up. Let's
That's a
go. We got
blessing.
to get breakfast. Let's go. We ain't going to be late. I got to
That's a
take all
blessing.
three of them to school. I get the
Yeah,
breakfast going. I get the lunches prepared. I
yeah.
drop them off. Then it's my time. It's mama's time. Then I gotta go pick them up. I'm a
Well,
part of the PTA. I'm the president of one school. They going to see my face. You understand me? Listen.
that's important. We didn't
Yes, it
talk about
is.
that, but that is so important for
It is.
the parent to be present
At the school,
at the school.
because it helps the child to be like, this is cool. If I see my parents involved, then I gotta do even better so I can make them
Yes.
proud because they're going to be up here.
Right. And the teacher knows that they are not alone.
Yes,
They
yes,
are not
yes.
alone. It makes a difference. It makes a difference.
It does. It really
Well, before
does.
we end, what's next for Lazarus? What you have going on? What's coming up?
Well, you know what? Shout out to my management, 369 Talent. I'm constantly auditioning. I'm even
Okay.
constantly, as a matter of fact, I had to submit an audition for my daughter. She's auditioning. You know what I
Okay.
mean? We're
Mhm.
planting seeds with that, but more than anything, I have a project that I'm trying to pitch with my father-in-law.
Okay.
Long story short, 2009, he came up with this idea that he told me about. He been had the idea, and I said, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that would be amazing." And it's similar to the story. If you look and research the story of how Creed, how that came about, and the individuals who said, "You know what? I think it would be a great idea if the individuals that was in Rocky, they had children." You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Okay.
So I'm not going to go into full detail of
Right.
our project,
Right.
but we came up with the project, and we said, okay, let's devote time every day to write this out. So we
Mhm.
did that in 2009. By 2012, we finished the treatment. After 2012, we said we can't just stop here. We need an actual physical script. So
Right.
I said,
Right.
okay, let's go back to the drawing board. From 2012 all the way to 2019 took us to finalizing the script. Now we
Okay.
have a script. Now we're trying to pitch it and place it in the right hands. I'm still trying to get Greeking Out Loud back on the scene,
Mhm.
and and at the same time, I know what God has already for me is mine in due time and in due season. So when people ask me what you got going on, I said the moment, the
That's
millisecond
right.
of right now.
That's
Right now, with True Blue, that's what I got
right.
going on until we end this, and then whatever God has after this. I'm about to get ready to go and let my daughters do this trial gymnastics or dance or something that they're about to go and experience this evening. So I live in the present, in the
Yeah.
millisecond of life. And I
Yeah.
really know that what God has ordained for me is already mine. And so my saying is, I ain't tripping because it's already written. You
Hey, I
understand me?
like that. I'm
I
not
ain't
tripping
tripping.
because it's already
Already
written.
written.
I
Yes,
got it.
indeed. Yes,
I got
indeed.
it. Lazarus, listen, it has been a treat for
Amen.
you to close out our anniversary celebration. I
Come
thank
on.
you so much for
Come
saying
on.
yes. I
Yes,
am
ma'am.
only a phone call away. If
Yes.
you ever need anything of me, but I am going to stay in contact with you. I really
Please.
am. Because
Come on.
sometimes people just need, when you're feeling down, sometimes people just need maybe 15 minutes of
Come on.
somebody positive that can speak it to you, and you're like, okay, I got it.
Amen.
I
Amen.
got it.
Yeah, but it's what's meant to be is meant to be. When
That's right.
you call, and what I say is when you cross my mind, I gotta pick up the line.
And
You
you know what?
understand me?
That is so true because before the show we were talking about, the Bible said you don't know the day, the time, nor the hour.
Nope.
So, that's just not happenstance. Like you said, that people come across your mind or to do something come
Yes.
across your mind. So
Yes.
you have to make sure that you act on that. And as I got older, I've
Yes.
made sure that I've tried to do that. Reach
Yes.
out to people. And if I can't reach out to them, what I've started doing is right then, Father God, in the name of Jesus. I don't
Come
know
on.
why that person crossed my mind, but Lord, you
Amen.
know.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I just pray for the person. But you,
Yes.
you got to do something because
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not happenstance that they come across your mind.
Come on, come on. I love it. I thank you all. I thank all of your success, all of the individuals who are connected with your journey. The
Thank you.
best is yet to come. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
my mama says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So even though I was the last one, I'm the first one to say, you keep on believing, you keep on achieving, knowing you can always count on God because
That's
that's what
right.
He is for. You
Amen.
understand me? So
Amen.
thank you
Thank
all
you,
to all
Lazarus.
y'all live individuals. I see you. I see you. I see you. Well, I don't see you, but you see me.
Lazarus, we thank you. And viewers and listeners, we thank you.
Yes.
We
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
listening.
celebrating our 14-year anniversary with us.
Yes.
After this show, we will be on bi-weekly because the
Come on.
first 3 years we were on every Wednesday, and that's a lot. And
Okay.
so as God is moving and taking us into new territory, we just scale back a little bit, and now we're doing every other Wednesday. But for my anniversary month, we do every week because I have to get into comedians.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Lazarus, thank you so much. And tell
Thank you.
your wife and your children we love them and we thank them so much. But you hold on for a second. I'm going to end the show. Viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This particular video and the others that we have done within the last 3-4 years will be housed there. And that is a resource hub. So go there. You never know what you may need may be there. We are going to sign off for tonight. And we thank you so much for tuning in. Good night, everybody.